Let's get to your top story. These are visuals coming from early this morning from Bihar as well as Uttar Pradesh, where a train was torched first in Lakhisarai, and then we also have visuals of this train being torched in Samistipur. The train has also been vandalized at the railway station in Balia. They smashed windows of a train, a huge mob that did descend upon the railway station in Balia. However, the police did manage to bring the situation under control. In Buxar, tires have been burned, and these are visuals from early this morning. Those are visuals from the railway station at Balia in Uttar Pradesh, where a huge mob, a huge crowd reached the railway station early this morning in order to vandalize the coaches, the train there. There you can see lathis being used to break the windows of the trains at the railway station in Balia. This at a time when the centre has raised the age limit for the Agnipath military recruitment scheme. They've raised that age limit for the year 2022 from 21 to 23. This is amid nationwide protests that have been taking place since yesterday. We saw 10 states where protests took place. In order, they are asking for a rollback as far as this recruitment plan is concerned. The government said in a release that the upper age limit for the recruitment process under this scheme will now be increased to 23, and that's only for 1 year, the year 2022. But we can see that protests continue. That hasn't really helped the situation. We have my colleague Alok joining us. Alok, we have visuals on our screen from Balia early this morning when we can see this huge mob, this huge crowd that descended upon the railway station.
Well, I can update you that there's been further vandalism, and perhaps we should try and take those shots on air when we can. There's been more vandalism at the Balia railway station, and as we speak, a coach of a train that was standing in the washing pit of the Balia railway station was set on fire. There are dramatic shots from there, and they show that this was a train that was standing in the washing pit, like I said, and a mob descended on it and they set a train coach on fire. So the visuals that you see are of policemen, railway policemen, railway officials, trying to separate that coach or those coaches or to try and salvage the rest of the coaches in the train, and then try and douse the fire in one of the train coaches that have caught fire. So that's the latest update from Balia. Balia is an eastern UP district which is on the Bihar border.
Right, Alok, we have visuals of smoke billowing from that train that was set on fire. These visuals are, in fact, quite when we are seeing these visuals, you can see the extent of damage that has been created due to that mob that's vandalized that train at the railway station in Balia.
Well, yes, Divya, you're absolutely right. These are horrific visuals, and these are not, it's really undesirable for something like this to happen. And what kind of a protest entails the destruction of public property like this is a question that everyone who is protesting or everyone who is, who feels aggrieved by the government move should ask themselves, because, burning a train, stoning a train, vandalizing property, what purpose does it serve? But here you have these visuals. Manishji, our colleague from Bihar, has been sending so many visuals from so many districts there of vandalism, etc. And, really serving no end except to cause the destruction of public property. And similar themes seem to be playing out in Balia, which is right across the Bihar border in eastern UP. And our contributor there is just sending us more updates that, at least two express trains that were passing through Balia and were static on the Balia platform have also been vandalized. He says that one of them is the Sialda Express and the other is the Balia Lokmanya Tilak Terminal Express. So this one, the second train would be originating from Balia and going to Lokmanya Tilak, which is in Mumbai. So again, this vandalism, just an hour ago, Divya, you and I were discussing how the police claims that they have managed to convince the protesters to, keep it peaceful, to disperse, etc. And now you have these visuals. One doesn't envy the police or the administration. You see, they have their hands full. Today is also the day of Friday prayers. There was violence last week during those prayers, not in Balia, but in some other places, but all districts are on alert. And then you have this situation related to the Agnipath scheme. Again, like I said, some of this is really very disheartening to see too, because while one may have issues with a certain scheme of the government, but it doesn't mean that this will happen. At the same time, one must also say that one hopes that at least in UP the administration will come down hard on this vandalism and protest too, in a manner that they did related to last week's violence.
Alok, just stay with us. We'll come back to you. We also have Manish joining us from Bihar. Manish, with these visuals that we have on our screen, first we've just seen the situation in Balia in Uttar Pradesh, but also we're seeing the similar situation in Samastipur. Protesters setting fire to a train in areas of Lucky. In fact, we are seeing many visuals coming out of Bihar this morning. These are protests that have taken place. That train that's been set on fire in Samastipur. Also, Lucky Sarai in Bihar, where the youth are protesting against the Agnipath scheme. Take us through the situation on the ground. What's happening?
The situation on the ground is volatile, and it seems that the district administration or the state government is once again caught off guard today, and everywhere the railway properties of railways has been, the main target of protesters. So far, we have the visuals from two places. One, from early morning from the Mohati Nagar railway station on the Barauni-Hajipur railway line, which is also under the Samastipur district administration-wise. And there, Jammu Tawi express trains, 2 bogies were put on fire. But now we are getting the latest visual of Sampark Kranti Express, and the bogies of which were put on fire on the outer side of the Samastipur railway station. We have those visuals also. Besides that, railways properties at Lucky Sarai, which is on the Howrah route, Patna-Howrah route between the Lucky Sarai and Patna, that was also vandalized by the protesters. And besides that, at Bihar station also there is a massive damage to the railways properties, the signal room and all, and the other properties were damaged. They were put on fire. So it seems this agitation is really spreading. And we have those shots from the Lakminia railway station on the Begussarai Khagaria railway line. From there also there are reports of damage. The visuals are confirming that. So it seems this announcement of relaxation seems to have little or no effect on the protesters today, and that is why this protest is escalating. Maybe the situation has been compounded by BJP's problem has been aggravated by Janata Dal United, because it has completely washed off its hands. It has urged the central government to roll back this Agnipath scheme. It is not in the interest of the students, and that has put the pressure on the district administration to use any kind of force, because somewhere Janata Dal United, by opposing this new scheme, has given a signal that there should be no or very little force should be used against the protesters.
Right, Manish, the government has put out a 10-point defense of the scheme and assured recruits that they will not find themselves in the lurch after completing those 4 years in the military. They've also increased that age limit to 23, and that's only for the year 2022. But even after all these changes that they're bringing about, the protesters continue their protest for the second day in a row, and the visuals that are coming are horrific. Well, we also have my colleague Ghazali joining us. Ghazali, what we are coming to know is in Haryana, Section 144 has been imposed in certain areas. The internet services and mobile services also have been suspended. The security there has been ramped up.
See, right now I'm in Panchkula Sports Stadium, Tau Devilal Stadium, and you can see behind me this is the running track, because army aspirants come here every morning, and I'm joined here by one such aspirant. क्या नाम है आपका?
लवजिंदर सिंह।
लवजिंदर, आप डेली आते हैं यहाँ पे?
हाँ जी सर।
अच्छा, ये जो केंद्र सरकार की तरफ से कानून बना है कि अब 4 साल की नौकरी में भर्ती होगी, उसको किस तरह से देखते हैं?
सर देखिए, अब 4 साल की कर तो दी इन्होंने जॉब, पर इसमें कोई नहीं जाएगा।
क्यों?
क्योंकि सर अब 4 साल बाद लात मार के निकाल देंगे, क्या फायदा हमारा जाएगा?
सरकार तो कह रही है कि आगे कई
क्या सर, आप सोचिए सर, 100% बच्चा होगा अंदर, उसमें जो 75 को बाहर निकाल दें, 25 को रखे, वो क्या करेंगे? 25 उनको भी ना रखा होगा।
कह रहे हैं 25 को और सेवाओं में रखेंगे, CRPF है, CAPF है।
अगर ना रखा तो बताइए फिर।
आप कितने साल से तैयारी कर रहे हैं?
सर मुझे यहाँ पर 7 साल हो गए ग्राउंड में आते हुए।
और कितनी उम्र है आपकी?
हमारी अब 23 हो चुकी है।
23 हो चुकी है। तो जो सरकार ने कल रात में चेंज किया, 21 साल से 23 साल बढ़ा के किया, उससे कुछ आपको लग रहा है कि अब आप अपीयर हो
सर मुश्किल है, क्योंकि अब बच्चे अपनी रोड पे आ चुके हैं। पहले घर वाले थे, अब बच्चे आ चुके हैं सर। इसलिए सर अब तो बेरोजगार कितनी होगी है सर, आप बताइए खुद।
तो फिर भी आप तैयारी कर रहे हैं, डेली आते हैं?
सर बस अब तो देखते हैं कहीं पर किसी चीज के फॉर्म निकले फिर वो भर लेंगे, और तो कुछ नहीं है हमारे पास अब
किसी और नौकरी के लिए।
हाँ।
तो आप बताइए क्या लगता है, सरकार जो ये सरकार ने जो कानून बनाया है 4 साल के लिए फौज के लिए?
सर देखो +2 के बाद तो 17.5 साल है, 21 साल के बाद वो निकाल देंगे। निकालने के बाद फ्यूचर तो नहीं है कुछ सर, क्यों? गैप ईयर भी हो जाएगा सर, 3-4 साल का।
अब तो इसे फौज में सर 21 साल से बाद तो सर कोई जॉब खत्म होगी, बंदे की लाइफ ही खत्म होगी सर, क्योंकि 17 साल से आर्मी की स्टार्टिंग थी, 17.5 से तो 21.5 पे खत्म थी। अब तो इन्होंने 4 साल ही करके 21 से बाद सर बच्चे की लाइफ खत्म हो चुकी है अब तो।
अरे तो कह तो रहे हैं कि और भी नौकरी मिल जाएगी।
अगर नहीं मिली तो सर क्या करेंगे, प्राइवेट है अब, क्या करती सर, तो प्राइवेट होगी। अब आर्मी की रहेगी थी सरकारी, उसमें भी क्या रहा बच्चों का बताइए। यूपी बिहार में सर क्या हाल है अब आप?
अच्छा इसमें बताओ थोड़ा, ये ट्रेन व्रेन जलाना, ये पथराव करना, ये सब भी तो
सर ये तो है तो गलत है, पर जिस हिसाब से चल रहे हैं। पर
सर ये ऐसे है, लास्ट गनखरियों की लास्ट उम्र थी वो निकल गई, 2 साल से भर्ती नहीं हो रही है सर।
बढ़ानी थी सर,
उम्र बढ़ानी थी, वो घटा दी सर।
अब तो उम्र कर दी 21 से 23 कर दी।
सर पेपर तो लेना चाहिए था सर, पिछला जो पिछली उम्र 2 साल का गैप रह चुका है वो बढ़ाना था हमारा, कि अगर ये 4 साल बढ़ा इसने प्राइवेट कर दिया फिर क्या फायदा रह गया हमारा बताइए। अगर अब मैं भर्ती हो चुका हूँ, अगर मुझे 4 साल के बाद मुझे बाहर निकाल दिया जाए, मेरे दिल पे क्या बीतती सर, आप बताइए फिर।
चलो निकाल दो, पेपर तो लेना था सर, जिसकी लास्ट उम्र रह रही है उसका पेपर तो लेना। तो पेपर कैंसिल कर दिया ना, 2 साल से 1.5 साल से जो रोक रखा था, वो पेपर तो लेना था सर। इतने बालक जिसकी लास्ट उम्र थी, क्या बीती है सर, कितने जने फांसी खा गए सर।
मेरी 2 भर्ती
36 घंटों में 64 बालक फांसी।
सुसाइड देखो सर कितने हो रहे हैं, सुसाइड भी तो देख लो आप कितने हो रहे हैं, कितने टाइम में कितने सुसाइड हुई, 70 करीब जा रही है।
अब तो सर आप बताइए, जितना नेता एक बाल्टी में पानी नहाता है हम तो इतना निकाल देते हैं यहाँ पर सुबह सुबह में, जो 3-3 बजे आते हैं यहाँ पर ग्राउंड में। अब 9 बज गए, अब जाएंगे घर, देख लो आप।
और सुबह 4 बजे आते हैं सर, 4 से 9 कितना टाइम हो गया आप भी देखिए।
तो ये अच्छा सरकार उसके कई फायदे भी गिना रही है कि दूसरी सर्विसेज में चले जाओगे, पेंशन।
सर हमें जाना नहीं दूसरी में, कौन सी सर्विस है बताइए, हमें जाना नहीं किसी सर्विस में।
वायु सेना और ये जल सेना, तीनों में तो ये कर दिया सर, 4 साल कर दिया तीनों। 4 जनों ने बैठक कर दो करी थी।
इसमें रैंक नहीं बढ़ रहा 4 साल में सर फौजी तैयार होता है प्रॉपर, जो उसको अब ये दे रहे हैं 6 महीने की ट्रेनिंग। 6 महीने में क्या बंदा सीखेगा? 6 महीने बाद तो घर छुट्टी आते हैं, 9 महीने ट्रेनिंग करके साल बाद तो उसे बंदूक हाथ में फड़नी आती है।
तो अब क्या करे सरकार, फैसला वापस
सरकार अपना फैसला वापस ले।
सरकार भी 5 साल हुआ है, तो आर्मी वाला 4 साल क्यों? तो या बताओ आप।
तो सरकार अगर 5 साल कर दे फिर
नहीं सर, सरकार अपना फैसला वापस ले, और जैसे पहले रूल था वैसे ही होना चाहिए हमारे हिसाब से। रूल जितनी सर 17 से शुरू होती है भर्ती, 21.5 साल तक खत्म होती है लास्ट। तो पहला पेपर एक तो कोरोना की वजह से इन्होंने बहाना मार के रखा, ठीक है सर। दूसरा इन्होंने पेपर लीक का बहाना मारा। हम 4 बारी आरसी लेने फिर तो हम चले गए वहाँ पर। एक बारी मेडिकल क्लियर होता है, मसों होता है वो भी, अब मेडिकल दोबारा देंगे, 4 नुक्स निकाल देंगे।
So you can hear the aspirants here. They say they have been spending months and days practicing here in these stadiums, but the sudden and this recruitment policy change by the government has not been welcomed by them.
Zali, one of them saying that he's put in 7 years training for this. In fact, those army aspirants putting forward their reservations. We also have Harsha with us from Rajasthan. Rajasthan has a rich tradition of sending people into the army. Many districts like Jodhpur often account for the higher number of recruitments into the armed forces as compared to other parts of the country. Well, Harsha, what is the situation on the ground? What are the demands of the army aspirants there in Rajasthan?
Well, I'm here at a defense academy where you can see children behind me are training for the army, and it's not just Jodhpur but even districts like Jhunjhunu, Nagaur, Barmer, Bikaner, Sikar, in fact, which have a high number of recruitments into the Indian Army from Rajasthan. And some of the, in fact, all the people who are training here are from different districts. Now I have this young man here with me. आपका नाम क्या है?
myself विमल कुमार जहांगीर.
Okay, so विमल कुमार जहांगीर, आप फर्स्ट जनरेशन आर्मी में हैं या आपके कोई और भी था आर्मी में?
My ancestors are also in army.
कौन थे आर्मी में?
Father and brothers and grandfather.
Okay, so अभी जो अग्निपथ स्कीम आई है उसको लेके, so as you can hear he is second generation, third generation actually in the army. अभी जो स्कीम आई है उसको लेके आपका क्या सोचना है?
From the views of my ancestor are telling that this scheme just destroyed the army and they are taking uncanny action about the army and it is not sufficient for the army.
अच्छा, आप हिंदी में बोलिए, आपको क्या आपत्ति है इससे?
आपत्ति तो यही है कि जो आर्मी में रिक्रूटमेंट होंगे, जो 4 साल की ट्रेनिंग करके आएंगे, उसके बाद उनके लिए कोई वे नहीं बचेगा जॉब के लिए.
और जो आपके फादर ने क्या बोला कि जो वर्क फोर्स है उसमें कुछ फर्क पड़ेगा, आर्मी के क्वालिटी में फर्क पड़ेगा?
क्योंकि 4 साल की ट्रेनिंग से कुछ नहीं होगा. अगर बंदा कोई अगर 15 ईयर कर रहा है ना, तो उसमें ट्रेनिंग आएगी, तभी तो वो वार लड़ सकेगा. 4 साल में कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं हो सकती.
So I think that's an important point. This youngster is speaking after having spoken to his father, who's an army man, and he says you need a certain amount of training, which a lot of other people from actually the armed forces have raised questions about the quality of the armed forces. If it's just 4 years or 6 years of training. I have with me another young man here. आपका नाम बताइए.
मेरा परमवीर सिंह.
परमवीर, आपको क्या लगता है अग्निपथ स्कीम जो है और इसमें अग्निवीर है उनको जो दाखिला मिलेगा आर्मी में 4 साल के लिए बता रहे हैं, क्या लगता है आपको?
मैम दिस एक्ट, मैम ये एक्ट पूरे आर्मी के शेड्यूल्स को बिगाड़ चुका है. क्योंकि जब तक बंदा सीखेगा ट्रेनिंग के बारे में तब तक उसको निकाल दिया होगा. तो उसके लिए या तो एक तो आर्मी का जज्बा है, डेडिकेशन है, वो कम हो जाएगा. और एक जो मतलब उसकी टेन्योर होती है, मतलब वो नहीं कर पाएगा पूरी. वो
आप कितने दिन, आपकी उम्र क्या है, आप कब से ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं आर्मी?
मैम 16 ईयर्स आई एम ओल्ड.
कब से ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं आप आर्मी की?
मैम 2 साल से.
अच्छा, और आपका कोई है परिवार में आर्मी? कहाँ से हैं आप?
मैं आई एम फ्रॉम बिलोंगिंग ऑफ नागौर.
नागौर से हो. और आपके कौन कौन है परिवार में?
मेरे फादर आर्मी में थे, मेरा ब्रदर लेफ्टिनेंट है आर्मी में.
अच्छा, और आपको भी जज्बा है आर्मी में जाने का?
यस मैम.
अच्छा, मेरे को लगता है आप जरूर जाओगे वैसे, है ना? सो as you can see, very interesting that both the boys that I spoke to here at this academy where they're training to join the army, both of them are actually children of people who are in the armed forces. So that's really the tradition from Rajasthan. We haven't seen too many widespread protests here yet. In Nagaur, there was a protest led by the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party yesterday, but the whole the whole point that Rajasthan sends a large number of people into the Indian Army, this is definitely, like they said, it's going to affect the mindset, the manobal, or the attitude of the youth who want to join the army and stay there for the next 15 years.
Absolutely. Harshad, as people have been saying, they've been preparing for this for years now, and to have that cut short to just 4 years is not something that they want to do. In fact, let's just also get a sense of the situation in Haryana, where Section 144 has been imposed and the internet services have also been suspended. We have Sukirti joining us from Haryana. Sukirti, what's the situation on the ground as far as Haryana is concerned? The police have ramped up security all across the entire state of Haryana.
Well, there have been several precautionary measures that have been taken across Haryana because of the kind of widespread protests that unfolded yesterday, where the Delhi-Gurugram highway was blocked for a span of about 6 hours. And there were instances where the police had to carry out a lathi charge against protesters. Today, Section 144 has been imposed in Palwal, Faridabad and Rohtak. Mobile internet services have been suspended for 24 hours in Palwal district and Vallabhgarh subdivision of Faridabad district. Today, so far, there has been one protest that was held in Mahendragarh area of Haryana. There is another protest that is scheduled in Rohtak for around 10 a.m. but likely to begin much later, about 1 or 2 hours later, because it is getting delayed for some reason. That particular protest in Rohtak is supposed to take place outside the BJP office in Rohtak and has been called for by the Farmers Union leader, Mr. Gurnaam Singh Charuni, a very famous leader from the Farmers protest, and he has said that he's going to go on a hunger strike and has called for army aspirants to join him. But something that I would like to point out here in connection with what my colleague Harsha was reporting is that just like in Rajasthan, where there is this tradition of several generations of the family being in the army, similarly, it is the tradition in Haryana as well. Yesterday, a 22-year-old youth who died by suicide, allegedly that he was upset about the Agnipath scheme, had been preparing for the army recruitment exam for the last 2 years. In fact, he'd already given his physical test as well as medical examination. But because the written examination has not been held in the last 2 years because of COVID, so he was waiting for that to happen. And then his friends say that he was upset over the Agnipath scheme. In this particular case as well, his father had retired from the army and he wanted to follow in the footsteps of his father. So in places like Rajasthan and Haryana,
right,
there
so Kirti,
is a wide chunk of the population that comes from the army.
Right, a 22-year-old had died by suicide yesterday. It was alleged that he was upset about the Agnipath scheme and had been preparing for the army exams for the last 2 years. So there we have a Section 144 that has been imposed in Haryana. But early morning visuals coming in of protests that are continuing in parts of Uttar Pradesh as well as Bihar. We'll continue to track that story and more on the other side. For now, we're sitting to a short break. Welcome back. The United States on Thursday condemned remarks by Indian ruling party officials about the Prophet Muhammad that have sparked an uproar in Muslim countries. We condemn the offensive comments made by the two BJP officials, and we were glad to see that the party publicly condemns those comments, is what Ned Price, the State Department spokesperson, had to say. Let's just listen in.
We condemn the offensive comments made by two BJP officials, and we were glad to see that the party publicly condemned those comments. We regularly engage with the Indian government at senior levels on human rights concerns, including freedom of religion or belief, and we encourage India to promote respect for human rights.
And with that, we're stepping away a short break. News and updates will continue on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we have fresh protests that have taken place for the second consecutive day against the recruitment plan. These are visuals coming in of trains being torched, vandalism of a mob at the railway station in parts of Uttar Pradesh as well as Bihar. A mob set fire on a railway station in Uttar Pradesh in Balia. And also a similar situation in Bihar this morning as the protest over the new military recruitment policy continues for the third consecutive day. In Uttar Pradesh's Balia, mob set a fire on a train this morning. Horrific visuals coming out of Balia where property has been damaged. That's the railway property. We also have visuals coming in from Buxar where train has been set on fire. There you can see tires being burnt and that mob there at the railway station in Buxar. Also a train torched in Lakhisarai. There are people taking to the railway station in Lakhisarai. Visuals coming there of that train being set on fire. Also in Samastipur in Bihar, a train has been vandalized. Those are visuals of a train being set on fire there as well. This has all happened in the last 1 or 2 hours this morning. However, there has been police presence at all those railway stations. However, they were outnumbered, and that is the situation on the ground in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where protests continue against the new military recruitment plan. Even though that plan has seen a bit of an alteration in the last 24 hours, the centre raised that age limit for the Agnipath military recruitment scheme to 23 years from 21 amid nationwide protests against that model. The decision has been taken as no recruitment has taken place in the last 2 years. So this is only for the year 2022 when that age limit will be increased to 23. However, it will be limited to 21 going forward. The statement has been made by the government, but there you can see that it has not made any difference as far as that mob is concerned. Protests continue. There visuals coming in from Balia, the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh this morning. A mob vandalized a train at the railway station. The police later used force to disperse them. Violence erupted on Tuesday after the government announced the overhaul of recruitment of the that's 1.38 million strong armed forces, looking to bring down that average age of personnel and reduce pension expenditure. The protest spread to about 10 states yesterday. Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand as well as Delhi. Also, it sparked off in Bihar. And here this morning you can see visuals coming out again from Bihar, many parts of Bihar and also Balia in Uttar Pradesh. And the UP BJP chief has hit out at the opposition, saying that they first were provoking the farmers, now they're provoking the Jawans. They are asking how long will they continue to instigate. And we have my colleague Manish in Bihar asking the people who are aspiring to join the army as to what is it that they want, what are their demands and what are their reservations. Let's just listen in.
ये बताओ कि जो केंद्र सरकार का घोषणा है वो तुम लोग को मान्य है?
नहीं सर, जो हम लोग का पहले रूल था डिफेंस में, जो 21 साल से 18 से 23 साल तक रूल था, वही सर हम लोग पहले वाला जो रूल था सर वही हम लोग के लिए सही है। क्योंकि इससे सर 4 साल के लिए सर कोई फायदा नहीं है आर्मी में जाने के लिए। सेवा का जो मौका है सर 4 साल तो हम लोग तैयारी यहाँ पे तैयारी कर रहे हैं 4 साल से। जो लड़का सर 3 साल से एनसीसी 4 साल से एनसीसी कर रहा है सर, उसको सी सर्टिफिकेट लेने में 4 साल 5 साल टाइम लगता है, उसका सर इसी तरह बर्बाद हो गया सर।
नहीं, मोदी जी आप लोगों को 2 साल का रिलैक्सेशन दिए हैं तो क्यों?
नहीं, वो सब नहीं चाहिए, पुराना ही चाहिए। जो पुराना नियमावली था वो लागू किया जाए, क्योंकि पुराना ही किसान का बाल बच्चा सब जाता है। नेता का थोड़ून, मोदी जी का बेटा थोड़ून जाता है, या जो रक्षा मंत्री है उनका बेटा थोड़ून आर्मी में जाता है, सब गरीब गुरुआ का बेटा जाता है। इसलिए पुराना जो नियम था वो लागू किया जाए।
आप लोग को क्या आपत्ति है?
जो मेडिकल और फिजिकल पास किए हों विद्यार्थी को पहले एग्जाम लेना चाहिए, ताकि उन लोग का एज पार हो गया है। अगर उन लोग का एग्जाम नहीं लिया जाता है तो उन लोग के करियर खराब हो जाएगा।
आप लोग को क्या लगता है कि क्या 2 साल का जो रिलैक्सेशन है वो आप,
उससे क्या फायदा है?
सरकार तो है ना कम से कम।
तो सरकार सिर्फ 2 साल की छूट दिया, इसके लिए क्या फायदा है? सिर्फ 4 साल का ड्यूटी ये है, उसके बाद निकालिए देगा।
कहीं सर 3 साल से 4 साल से वैकेंसी नहीं आ रहा है सर। यूपी में सर 3 साल से वैकेंसी नहीं आ रहा, बिहार में सर 2 साल से वैकेंसी नहीं आ रहा सर।
टाइम पे इलेक्शन हो जा रहा है, सरकार का एग्जाम नहीं हो पा रहा, बच्चा का भविष्य अंधकार में हो गया, सारा बर्बाद हो गया।
नहीं, जैसे पहले एक्चुअली जैसे पहले रूल था वैसे किया जाए ना।
हम लोग का सरकार से यही मांग है।
अब क्या इसमें चेंजिंग हो रहा है?
आप लोग को क्या लगता है?
जो भी लड़का जो तैयारी कर रहा था है ना, और जिससे पहले था कि 23 साल तक आर्मी का भर्ती लिया जाता था, है ना, एक 7.5 से स्टार्टिंग था और 23 तक, जिसमें टेक्निकल पोस्ट था और ट्रेडमैन था, ठीक है। उस 23 साल तक एज के लिए उन लोगों का एबिलिटी बनाया गया था, ठीक है। अब उसको गवर्नमेंट क्या कर दिया है कि 17.5 से 21 था। 2 साल जो लड़का लोगों को जो एज घटा है, पिछले 20 का जो वैकेंसी लिया गया था, है ना, उसको अचानक से सस्पेंड कर दिया गया है ना।
And also to figure out what is it that army aspirants want, we have my colleague in Ghazali who is reporting from Panchkula. He is spending time with army aspirants who are talking about how much time they spent in order to train to join the armed forces.
See, right now I'm in Panchkula Sports Stadium, Taudevil Stadium, and you can see behind me this is a running track because army aspirants come here every morning. And I'm joined here by one such aspirant. क्या नाम है आपका?
लवजिंदर सिंह।
लवजिंदर सिंह। लवजिंदर, आप डेली आते हैं यहाँ पे?
हाँ जी सर।
अच्छा, ये जो केंद्र सरकार की तरफ से कानून बना है कि अब 4 साल की नौकरी में भर्ती होगी, उसको किस तरह से देखते हैं?
सर देखिए, अब 4 साल की कर तो दी इन्होंने जॉब, पर इसमें कोई नहीं जाएगा।
क्यों?
क्योंकि सर अब 4 साल बाद लात मार के निकाल देंगे, क्या फायदा हमारा?
सरकार तो कह रही है कि आगे कई
क्या सर, आप सोचिए सर, 100% बच्चा होएगा अंदर, उसमें जो 75 को बाहर निकाल दें, 25 को रखे, वो क्या करेंगे 25 का? उनको भी ना रखा होगा।
कह रहे हैं 25 को और सेवाओं में रखेंगे, CRPF है, CAPF है।
अगर ना रखा तो बताइए फिर।
आप कितने साल से तैयारी कर रहे हैं?
सर मुझे यहाँ पर 7 साल हो गए ग्राउंड में आते हुए।
और कितनी उम्र है आपकी?
हमारी अब 23 हो चुकी है।
23 हो चुकी है। तो जो सरकार ने कल रात में चेंज किया, 21 साल से 23 साल बढ़ा के किया, उससे कुछ आपको लग रहा है कि अब आप अपीयर हो
सर मुश्किल है, क्योंकि अब बच्चे अपनी रोड पे आ चुके हैं, पहले घर वाले थे, अब बच्चे आ चुके हैं सर। इसलिए सर अब तो बेरोजगार कितनी होगी है सर, आप बताइए खुद।
तो फिर भी आप तैयारी कर रहे हैं, डेली आते हैं?
सर बस अब तो देखते हैं कहीं पर किसी चीज ये फॉर्म निकले, फिर वो भर लेंगे, और तो कुछ नहीं है हमारे पास अब
किसी और नौकरी के लिए। तो आप बताइए क्या लगता है, सरकार जो ये सरकार ने जो कानून बनाया है 4 साल के लिए फौज के लिए।
सर देखो +2 के बाद तो 17.5 साल है, 21 साल के बाद वो निकाल देंगे। निकालने के बाद फ्यूचर तो नहीं है कुछ, क्यों गैप ईयर भी हो जाएगा सर 3-4 साल का।
अब तो इस फौज में सर 21 साल से बाद तो सर कोई जॉब खत्म होगी, बंदे की लाइफ ही खत्म होगी सर, क्योंकि 17 साल से आर्मी की स्टार्टिंग थी 17.5 से, तो 21.5 पे खत्म थी। अब तो इन्होंने 4 साल ही करके 21 से बाद सर बच्चे की लाइफ खत्म हो चुकी है अब तो।
अरे तो कह तो रहे हैं कि और भी नौकरी मिल जाएगी।
अगर नहीं मिली तो सर क्या करेंगे, प्राइवेट है अब क्या करती सर, तो प्राइवेट होगी। अब आर्मी की रहेगी थी सरकारी, उसमें भी क्या रहा बच्चों का बताइए। यूपी बिहार में सर क्या हाल है अब आप?
अच्छा इसमें बताओ थोड़ा, ये ट्रेन व्रेन जलाना, ये पथराव करना, ये सब भी तो
सर ये तो है तो गलत है, पर जिस हिसाब से चल रहे हैं। पर
सर ये ऐसे लास्ट लास्ट उम्र थी वो निकल गई, 2 साल से भर्ती नहीं, 2 साल से भर्ती नहीं हो रही है सर।
बढ़ानी थी सर,
उम्र बढ़ानी थी, वो घटा दी सर।
अब तो उम्र कर दी 21 से 23 कर दी।
सर पेपर तो लेना चाहिए था सर पिछला, जो पिछली उम्र 2 साल का गैप रह चुका है वो बढ़ाना था हमारा। कि अगर ये 4 साल बढ़ा इसने प्राइवेट कर दिया फिर क्या फायदा रहेगा हमारा बताइए। अगर अब मैं भर्ती हो चुका हूँ, अगर मुझे 4 साल के बाद मुझे बाहर निकाल दिया जाए, मेरे दिल पे क्या बीतती सर आप बताइए।
चलो निकाल दो, पेपर तो लेना था सर, जिसकी लास्ट उम्र रह रही है उसका पेपर तो लेना। तो पेपर कैंसिल कर दिया ना 2 साल से 1.5 साल से जो रोक रखा था, वो पेपर तो लेना था सर। इतने बड़ा जिसकी लास्ट उम्र थी, क्या बीती है सर, कितने जने फांसी खाएंगे सर।
मेरी 2 भर्ती
36 घंटों में 64 बालक फांसी।
सुसाइड देखो सर कितने हो रहे हैं, सुसाइड भी तो देख लो आप कितने हो रहे हैं, कितने टाइम में कितने सुसाइड हो रही, 70 करीब जा रही है।
अच्छा
अब तो सर आप बताइए, जितना नेता एक बाल्टी में पानी नहाता है हम तो इतना निकाल देते हैं हम यहाँ पर सुबह सुबह में, जो 3-3 बजे आते हैं यहाँ पर ग्राउंड में। अब 9 बज गए, अब जाएंगे घर, देख लो आप।
और सुबह 4 बजे आते हैं सर, 4 से 9 कितना टाइम हो गया आप भी देख लो।
तो ये अच्छा सरकार उसके कई फायदे भी गिना रही है कि दूसरी सर्विसेज में चले जाओगे, पेंशन।
सर हमें जाना नहीं दूसरी में, कौन सी सर्विस है बताइए, हमें जाना नहीं किसी सर्विस में।
वायु सेना और ये जल सेना, तीनों में तो ये कर दिया सर, 4 साल कर दिया तीनों। 4 जनों ने बैठे के 2 करी थी।
इसमें रैंक नहीं बढ़ रहा 4 साल में सर फौजी तैयार होता है प्रॉपर, जो उसको अब ये दे रहे हैं 6 महीने की ट्रेनिंग। 6 महीने में क्या बंदा सीखेगा? 6 महीने बाद तो घर छुट्टी आते हैं, 9 महीने ट्रेनिंग करके साल बाद तो उसे बंदूक हाथ में फड़नी आती है।
तो अब क्या करे सरकार, फैसला वापस
सरकार अपना फैसला वापस ले।
सरकार भी 5 साल होगा है तो आर्मी वाला 4 साल क्यों? तो या बताओ आप।
तो सरकार अगर 5 साल कर दे फिर
नहीं सर, सरकार अपना फैसला वापस ले, और जैसे पहले रूल था वैसे ही होना चाहिए हमारे हिसाब से। तो जितनी सर 17 से शुरू होती है भर्ती, 21.5 साल तक खत्म होती है लास्ट है। तो पहला पेपर एक तो कोरोना की वजह से इन्होंने बहाना मार के रखा, ठीक है सर। दूसरा इन्होंने पेपर लीक का बहाना मारा। हम 4 बारी आरसी लेने फिर हम चले गए वहाँ पर, एक बारी मेडिकल क्लियर होता है, मसों होता है वो भी। अब मेडिकल दोबारा देंगे, 4 नुक्स निकाल देंगे।
So you can hear the aspirants here. They say they have been spending months and days practicing here in these stadiums, but the sudden and this recruitment policy change by the government has not been welcomed by them.
Also, many districts of Rajasthan often account for the highest number of recruitments into the armed forces as compared to other parts of the country. My colleague Harsha too spoke to some of the aspirants in Rajasthan.
Well, I'm here at a defense academy where you can see children behind me are training for the army, and it's not just Jodhpur but even districts like Junjunu, Nagaur, Barmer, Bikaner, Sikar in fact, which have a high number of recruitments into the Indian Army from Rajasthan. And some of the, in fact all the people who are training here are from different districts. Now I have this young man here with me. आपका नाम क्या है?
myself विमल कुमार जहांगीर।
ओके, सो विमल कुमार जहांगीर, आप फर्स्ट जनरेशन आर्मी में हैं या आपके कोई और भी था आर्मी में?
My ancestors are also in army.
कौन थे आर्मी में?
Father and brothers and grandfather.
ओके, सो अभी जो अग्निपथ स्कीम आई है उसको लेके, सो एज यू कैन हियर ही इज थर्ड जनरेशन एक्चुअली इन द आर्मी। अभी जो स्कीम आई है उसको लेके आपका क्या सोचना है?
From the views of my ancestor are telling that this scheme just destroyed the army and they are taking uncanny action about the army and it is not sufficient for the army.
अच्छा, आप हिंदी में बोलिए, आपको क्या आपत्ति है इससे?
आपत्ति तो यही है कि जो आर्मी में रिक्रूटमेंट होंगे जो 4 साल की ट्रेनिंग करके आएंगे उसके बाद उनके लिए कोई वे नहीं बचेगा जॉब के लिए।
और जो आपके फादर ने क्या बोला कि जो वर्क फोर्स है उसमें कुछ फर्क पड़ेगा, आर्मी के क्वालिटी में फर्क पड़ेगा?
क्योंकि 4 साल की ट्रेनिंग से कुछ नहीं होगा। अगर बंदा कोई अगर 15 ईयर कर रहा है ना तो उसमें ट्रेनिंग आएगी, तभी तो वो वार लड़ सकेगा। 4 साल में कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं हो सकती।
So I think that's an important point. This youngster is speaking after having spoken to his father, who is an army man, and he says you need a certain amount of training, which a lot of other people from actually the armed forces have raised questions about the quality of the armed forces. If it's just 4 years or 6 years of training. I have with me another young man here. आपका नाम बताइए।
मेरा परमवीर सिंह।
परमवीर, आपको क्या लगता है अग्निपथ स्कीम जो है और इसमें अग्निवीर है उनको जो दाखिला मिलेगा आर्मी में 4 साल के लिए बता रहे हैं, क्या लगता है आपको?
मैम मैम ये एक्ट पूरे आर्मी के शेड्यूल्स को बिगाड़ चुका है, क्योंकि जब तक बंदा सीखेगा ट्रेनिंग के बारे में तब तक उसको निकाल दिया होगा। तो उसके लिए या तो एक तो आर्मी का जज्बा है, डेडिकेशन है, वो कम हो जाएगा, और एक जो मतलब उसकी टेन्योर होती है मतलब वो नहीं कर पाएगा पूरी। वो
आप कितने दिन, आपकी उम्र क्या है, आप कब से ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं आर्मी?
मैं 2 साल से।
अच्छा, और आपका कोई है परिवार में आर्मी? कहाँ से हैं आप?
मैं आई एम बिलोंगिंग
नागौर से हूँ। और आपके कौन कौन है परिवार में?
मेरे फादर आर्मी में थे, मेरा ब्रदर लेफ्टिनेंट है आर्मी में।
अच्छा, और आपको भी जज्बा है आर्मी में जाने का?
यस मैम।
अच्छा, मेरे को लगता है आप जरूर जाओगे वैसे, है ना? सो as you can see, very interesting that both the boys that I spoke to here at this academy where they're training to join the army, both of them are actually children of people who are in the armed forces. So that's really the tradition from Rajasthan. We haven't seen too many widespread protests here yet. In Nagaur, there was a protest led by the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party yesterday, but the whole the whole point that Rajasthan sends a large number of people into the Indian Army, this is definitely, like they said, it's going to affect the mindset, the manobal, or the the attitude of the youth who want to join the army and stay there for the next 15 years.
And after widespread protests against the Agnipath scheme to recruit soldiers on a 4-year contract basis, authorities in Haryana have ramped up security measures today. Section 144 has been imposed in several parts, and mobile as well as internet services have been suspended in certain pockets in certain areas of Haryana. So that is the Haryana government ramping up security amid protests that took place yesterday. In fact, to get you a sense of the situation on the ground as far as this morning is concerned, we have my colleague Sukirti joining us. Sukirti, take us through the situation on the ground. What is it like this morning? And also there is a protest that's being scheduled in Rohtak outside the BJP office. What time is that expected?
As far as the situation on ground is concerned, one protest has already taken place in Mahendragarh area. There were a few groups of youngsters who carried out a sit-in protest on the road there, and there was some police arrangement around them as well in order to ensure that the situation does not go out of hand. Apart from that, there is another protest scheduled at about 10 a.m. but likely to get delayed. Is one that is set to take place outside the BJP office in Rohtak. That particular protest has been called for by a very known farmers union leader, Mr. Vandalised, who says that he will carry out a hunger strike against the Agnipath scheme and has asked army aspirants to join him in the protest today. But there is already Section 144 that has been imposed in Rohtak. So how big this protest get and whether there is any kind of a security scuffle that unfolds over there, that is something that we have to be seen. But because it will take the next few hours for the protesters to gather there, so we will have to wait for a while. But what is important to point out about Haryana is that just like Rajasthan, as my colleague Harsha was reporting, being a place where several generations of the family, especially in rural and village areas, tend to aspire for the army. Many of the sons there want to follow in the footsteps of their fathers. So a similar tradition in Haryana as well. And that is why a lot of the youth here ends up in the army. And for them, it is going to be a big issue to not have a secure job at the end of those 4 years. That's what aspirants here have been saying. But yes, early morning hours, the situation so far peaceful. But one will have to wait for the rest of the day and how situation unfolds. Several security measures already taken by the government.
Sukirti, so you are saying that protests have already started in parts of Haryana, but have they been peaceful so far?
Well, yes, so far peaceful. Mahendragarh, a particular place called Narnaul in Mahendragarh district of Haryana. That's the place where one protest already took place by several groups of youth, but it was not a massive protest. So no security hazard took place over there. The police was able to control the situation. But we are expecting more protests to take place as the day proceeds.
Right, so Kirti, we will keep following the story. Section 144 imposed in parts of Haryana. Security has been beefed up, and like Sukirti was reporting, a dharna is being planned in the course of the day outside the BJP office in Rohtak. So we'll keep all our eyes out for the situation on the ground, whether it's Haryana, whether it's Rajasthan, but moreover in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where violent protests broke out this morning. And we have with us former Chief of Army Staff General VP Malik joining us on NDTV this morning. A very good morning, sir. Let's in fact talk about the protests and this new recruitment plan that's that's going to come into effect. Are you convinced that Agniveers will get a job after 4 years?
Vishnu, I think we have to understand that the armed forces are a volunteer force. It's not a welfare organization, and it would like to have the best people who can fight the war for the country, who can defend the country. I believe that the scheme has many advantages, many plus points. There are a few concerns which probably will be looked after or looked into as the scheme gets implemented. Now, as far as 4 years is concerned, already the government has announced that there will be a lateral entry into the paramilitary forces and the police forces will be given. I think some states have also announced, and I am sure that with the kind of qualification they will have when they go, a larger number of them will get inducted in the private sector also. But I cannot at this stage say that everybody will be guaranteed another job after they leave after 4 years.
General VP Malik, people want to actually be hired for 15 years, not just 4 years, and hence the protests. We are seeing protests taking place since yesterday and today, this morning as well.
Let me be clear about it. That firstly, obviously, I mean, those people who have indulged in Gundaism and burning trains and buses, etc., they are not the kind of people that we would like to have in the armed forces. The second point is that, yes, there were a number of people who had been tested. They could not complete the tests for recruitment when we suspended recruitment of these people. So some of those people would be now over age. They will not be able to be, they will not be eligible for the Agnipath scheme. So their anxiety, their frustration, I can understand, because now they are over age and they will not be able to get in the scheme. But this Gundaism that is going on, we are a volunteer force. Nobody is forcing people to join the army. And as I said, that we have to have the best people to be able to defend the country.
So people trained to handle high-tech systems will now be out in just a matter of 4 years. Won't that pose to be a problem?
Look, firstly, the emphasis is there to now recruit people who are better educated and who are techno-savvy people. And therefore, there is also an effort to draw people from ITI and other technical institutions. They are being given bonus points. And that is the kind of people that we want in the armed forces. Now, these people, whether it's a short period, I don't agree with that. Having seen how the boys performed during Kargil war, some of them came straight from the regimental centers, joined the battalions which were fighting the war. And similarly, I have also seen young officers who not only belong to a particular regiment, they belong to ASC, AOC, and EME, etc., they joined the infantry battalions and they fought war. I can name Captain Hanifuddin, I can name Vijayan Thapar. They were not they were not commissioned into the regiment where they fought and where they gave up, where they got killed during action. They performed very well. So this business that 4 years is not good enough, I don't quite agree with that. Yes, for the technical people, perhaps 4 years, they could be given extension because high-tech jobs are there in the EME, signals, etc. In those jobs, 4 years may not be sufficient. We may like to give them some more. But again, I want to emphasize that let this scheme get into motion. And once we get to know where are the drawbacks, then corrections can take place.
Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us here on NDTV. For now, let's just cut across to Rajnath Singh, who is addressing.
स्वतः मिल जाएगी और मैं यह भी कहना चाहता हूं कि भर्ती प्रक्रिया कुछ ही दिनों में प्रारंभ होने जा रही है। मैं सभी नौजवानों से अपील करता हूं कि सेना में भर्ती होने की वह तैयारी करें और इसका पूरा लाभ उठाएं। धन्यवाद।
Rajnath Singh talking about aspiring the new recruits to join the army and the armed forces. With that, we're slipping into a very short break. News and updates will continue on the other side. Stay with us.